The gift.
We need to find a way out of here before they detect us.
The marketplace was alive with strange
Just give me a little
sounds
more
and
time.
glowing colors. Creatures from every corner of the galaxy moved in cages, some with sharp teeth, some with soft fur, some glowing like fireflies. The air smelled of smoke, spice, and wet metal. Merchants shouted to sell their animals, promising loyalty, protection, or beauty. Among the crowd, a young alien girl pulled at her brother's arm. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "You promised me a pet," she said, her voice full of hope. The brother smiled, but his smile carried a secret. "I did not forget," he answered, "but I found something better." Behind him, he pulled a cage covered with a dark cloth. The shape inside moved slowly, the sound of chains rattling beneath the cover. The girl clapped her hands, thinking he had bought her a rare beast. "Is it soft? Is it wild? Does it sing?" she asked, her heart racing. The brother only shook his head, his eyes glowing with pride. "You will see," he whispered. When they reached an open space in the center of the marketplace, the brother stopped. Crowds gathered, curious about the strange cage. The girl's excitement grew as her brother pulled away the cloth. Gasps filled the air. Inside the cage was not a beast, not a glowing bird, not a playful creature. It was a human. The human boy sat on the ground, his wrists and ankles bound with metal cuffs. His face was dirty, his hair tangled, but his eyes burned with fire. He did not look broken, even in chains. The girl froze, her smile fading. "That is not a pet," she whispered, her voice shaking. The crowd began to murmur, their words carrying fear. "A human? Here? Impossible. Dangerous," someone hissed. "They are forbidden," another warned. The brother lifted his chin, proud of his gift. "Better than any pet," he declared. "Stronger, smarter, rare. My sister deserves the best," the girl stepped closer to the cage, her heart racing. The human raised his head and looked straight into her eyes. She felt something sharp in that gaze, not like an animal, but like a storm. Her hands trembled as she touched the bars. "Why would you bring him here?" she whispered. The brother leaned close to her ear, his voice firm. "Because a human is worth more than any creature. Because with him, we will be powerful." The human's voice broke the air, low but strong. "I am not a pet," he said, his words slow and heavy. The crowd gasped again. He could speak their language. The sister's breath caught in her throat. His voice was not like the chitter of animals, not like the hum of machines. It was alive, proud, defiant. For the first time, she felt fear, not of his chains but of his spirit. Whispers in the crowd grew louder. "Hide him before the guards come. If the council learns of this, you will both be punished. Humans bring trouble, nothing else." The brother ignored them, his hand firm on the cage. "He is ours now," he said, his voice shaking with pride and stubbornness. But as he spoke, the sister saw something else in the corner of her eye, a shadow, tall and still, watching from behind the stalls. Someone had been following them since the cloth was removed. The figure did not move closer, but the weight of his gaze was heavy. The girl's heart beat fast. Her brother argued with the crowd, but her eyes stayed on the human. He sat quietly, his chest rising and falling, his eyes never leaving hers. She felt something strange, a pull she could not explain. It was not fear, not anger, not pity. It was curiosity. Who was he? Where had he come from? Why did his eyes look like they carried stories of fire and loss? The brother pulled the cage again, leading her away from the market. The crowd parted with fear and whispers, no one daring to stop them. The shadowy figure followed at a distance, unseen by the brother, but not by the girl. Her steps slowed, her hands cold. This was no simple gift. This was the beginning of something dangerous. She wanted a pet, but what she had now was a secret that could change everything. The human leaned forward against the bars, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "You don't know what you've done," he whispered. Her breath caught, her eyes wide. She wanted to ask more, but her brother pulled her arm. "Come, sister, your new pet awaits," he said, his tone filled with pride. But in her heart, she already knew. This was no pet. This was a story she was not ready to face. And from the shadows of the market, the watcher began to follow, silent, patient, waiting for the right time. The struggle. The path home from the market was long, lined with glowing stones and silent watchers. The girl walked beside her brother, but her eyes kept going back to the cage. The human sat inside, silent, his head slightly bowed, but his eyes still sharp. Every time she looked, he was already looking at her, and every time their eyes met, her heart jumped. Her brother walked proudly, pulling the cage with confidence. He seemed blind to the stares of neighbors, blind to the danger of whispers, but the girl felt the weight of every gaze, every murmur that followed them. She knew their secret would not stay hidden, not for long. When they reached their home, her brother dragged the cage into the courtyard. He set it down hard, dust rising from the ground. "There," he said with pride, "the best gift my sister could ever have." The girl hesitated, her hands trembling. She wanted to be happy, she wanted to smile, but the human's eyes told her another story. He shifted slowly, the chains clinking. "I am not a gift," he said softly, his voice calm but sharp. Her brother snapped, "Silence, beast!" But the human did not flinch, he did not lower his eyes. Instead, he leaned forward, his voice steady. "You think me a pet, but I am more than that, and you will learn it." The girl stepped back, her breath quick. Her brother only laughed, though his laugh was thin and uneasy. "You see," he said, looking at her. "Even his tongue is clever. Even his voice feels alive. He is no simple animal. That is why he is greater than any pet." That night, the girl could not sleep. The sound of the human's chains outside kept her awake. She slipped quietly from her room, stepping into the courtyard. The moon cast pale light across the cage. Inside, the human sat with his knees drawn up, his eyes reflecting the light. He did not move as she approached, but when she was close, he spoke. "You should not be near me," he whispered. His voice carried no anger, only truth. She bit her lip, torn between fear and curiosity. "You speak like us," she said softly. "How do you know our words?" The human lifted his head. "Because I learned," he said. "Because my people learn. Because we are not pets, we are not things. We are people, like you." Her chest tightened, her hands clutched at her robe. She wanted to deny it, to call him a liar, but the way he spoke, slow, clear, alive, it felt too real. She looked at his chains, heavy and cruel. Her brother's voice echoed in her memory. "With him, we will be powerful." But the girl whispered something else. "Do you hate us?" The human was silent for a long moment. Then his answer came, steady and sharp. "I hate the chains," he said. "I hate the cage. I hate the way your kind looks at mine. But you—" He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "You are still choosing what you will be." Her breath caught in her throat, her hands shaking. The weight of his words was heavy. Before she could answer, a sound broke the quiet, a soft scrape, like a footstep in the dark. She turned her head quickly, her eyes darting to the shadows beyond the courtyard wall. There, just for a moment, she saw the tall figure again, the watcher from the marketplace. He stood in silence, then slipped away before she could cry out. The girl froze, her heart hammering. She turned back to the cage, her whisper urgent. "Someone is watching us." The human's eyes narrowed, his voice low. "They were watching since the market. They are not gone. They are waiting." Her voice shook. "Waiting for what?" The human leaned forward, his eyes like fire in the moonlight. "For the moment when your brother's pride becomes your family's downfall." The girl trembled, her chest heavy with fear and curiosity. Her brother's plan had seemed bold and daring, but now she saw the cracks in it. The human was no pet, no beast to play with. He was a secret too heavy to hold. and the shadows outside their walls whispered of danger still to come. She backed away from the cage, her voice small. "What should I do?" she asked. The human's answer was simple. "Decide if I am your pet or your ally." The bond. The morning sun rose over the village, washing the stone walls in pale gold. Children ran through the streets, merchants opened their stalls, but in one courtyard silence sat heavy. The cage stood in the corner, its bars catching the light. Inside, the human boy rested with his back to the metal, his chains dragging across the ground. The brother stood tall, proud of his prize. He spoke loudly to neighbors who dared to come close. "See what I have brought. Not a beast, not a bird, a human, rare and strong." Some whispered in fear, some turned away, and some stared with dark interest. The sister stayed silent, her hands tight at her sides. She felt the weight of the human's words from the night before. Pet or ally. Later, when the village grew quiet, she slipped back to the cage. Her brother was gone, speaking with merchants, and the courtyard belonged to shadows again. The human lifted his head when she came, his eyes calm but sharp. "You got me back," he said, his voice steady. She hesitated, then nodded. "I want to know more," she whispered. He leaned forward, the chains clinking. "What do you want to know?" She swallowed, her throat dry. "Where are you from? How did you learn our words? Why were you in the market?" The human's eyes grew dark, as if his memories were heavy stones. "My home is far from here," he said slowly. "A place of skies wider than these walls, rivers larger than these markets. We were free once." He paused, his voice tightening. "Until your kind came, until they hunted us, until they sold us." The girl's chest ached. She gripped the bars of the cage. She had heard stories of humans, wild, dangerous, enemies from forgotten wars. But hearing it from his mouth was different, real. "You were captured?" she whispered. The human nodded once, his jaw set. "I was taken with others, but I lived when many did not." His eyes met hers, fierce but not cruel. "And now I sit here, in chains, called a pet." Her hands shook, her heart pulling in two directions. She wanted to defend her people, to say it was not her fault, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she whispered, "I am sorry." The human tilted his head, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Sorry?" She nodded quickly, her voice soft. "I did not know. I only asked for a pet. I never wanted this." For the first time, the human's eyes softened. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You are young, and you still choose what you will believe. Maybe you are not like the others." Her breath caught, warmth spreading in her chest. But before she could answer, heavy footsteps echoed near the courtyard. Her brother returned, his smile wide and proud. He carried a stick in his hand, tapping it against the bars. "Did he speak to you?" he asked, his tone sharp. The girl froze, her lips tight, but the human answered instead. "I said nothing." His voice flat, steady. The brother narrowed his eyes, suspicion flickering. He crouched near the cage, pressing the stick against the human's shoulder. "Remember your place," he muttered, pressing harder. The human did not cry out, he did not flinch, he only stared back with fire. The girl grabbed her brother's arm, her voice trembling. "Stop, please don't." Her brother turned, frowning. "Do not be weak, sister. This is how you tame him. This is how you make him obey." But her eyes filled with fear and anger. "He is not an animal," she whispered. Her brother stared at her in shock, his mouth half open. Silence fell between them, broken only by the soft rattle of chains. The human sat still, watching them both. In that silence, the sister felt something shift inside her. The human was no longer just a secret, no longer just a gift. He was something more, something dangerous, something alive. That night, she returned again when the stars covered the sky. This time she carried a small bowl of water. She pushed it through the bars, her hands shaking. The human looked at it, then at her, his voice soft. "You are not like him." Her throat tightened. "I don't know what I am," she whispered. He took the bowl and drank, his eyes never leaving hers. Then, slowly, he spoke words that made her heart race. "If you free me, I will never forget you." Her breath stopped, her hands clutching the bars. She opened her mouth, but no words came, because in the corner of the courtyard, hidden in the darkness, the shadowy figure stood again, watching, silent, patient. The hunt. The village was restless. Whispers spread faster than fire in dry grass. Some said a forbidden creature had been brought home by the proud brother. Others swore they had seen human eyes behind iron bars, and in every corner the word human traveled in hushed voices. Guards began to move through the streets, their armor clattering, their eyes sharp. They asked questions, knocked on doors, searched stables and storerooms. The council had heard the rumors, and they wanted the truth. For to keep a human was not only dangerous, it was against the law. In the courtyard, the sister watched the guards pass by the walls, her stomach twisted with fear, her hands cold. The human sat inside the cage, calm but alert. "They are coming," he said quietly, his voice steady. Her heart raced. "They will take you away," she whispered. He shook his head, his eyes locked on hers. "No, they will kill me before they allow me to leave this place alive." The words struck her like ice. Her brother entered the courtyard just then, his face tight with anger. "Do not listen to him," he snapped. "He wants to break your heart. He wants you weak." But even as he spoke, the sound of marching feet grew closer. The guards were moving house to house, and soon they would arrive. The brother pulled a heavy cloth and threw it over the cage. "If they come, say nothing, show nothing," he hissed. "He belongs to us, and no one will take him." The girl's voice shook. "This is madness. They will find out." But her brother's pride burned hotter than fear. "I will not lose him, not to them." That night the sister could not stay still. The whispers outside grew louder, shadows flickered across the walls. She slipped into the courtyard once more, her breath shallow. The human was waiting, his chains rattling softly as he leaned forward. "You cannot hide me forever," he said. "Their eyes are too sharp, their ears too keen." She gripped the bars, her voice breaking. "What should I do?" He leaned close, his words soft and heavy. "You must choose, either let them take me, or help me escape." Her chest tightened, her eyes filling with fear. Before she could answer, a sound cut through the night, a scrape of stone, the hush of a cloak. She spun, her heart hammering. There, beyond the wall, the shadowy figure stood again, closer and ever before, the moonlight touched his face, revealing sharp features, human features. Her breath caught, her voice trembling. You are one of him." The figure raised a finger to his lips, silencing her. Then he spoke in a whisper that reached only her. "Not all humans are gone. Not all are chained. Some of us walk free in the dark, watching, waiting." The girl froze, torn between fear and wonder. The human inside the cage pressed forward, his eyes wide. "You came," he whispered, his voice filled with shock and relief. The shadow nodded once, his gaze hard. "I came because he is not safe here, nor are you. If the council finds him, blood will spill, and it will begin with this house." Her knees shook, her hands clutching the bars tighter. The watcher's words filled her with dread. Her brother's pride had brought a storm to their doorstep. The human inside the cage stared at her, his voice sharp with urgency. "Do you see now? Your brother's gift is no gift. It is a fire that will burn your home." The sister's heart raced, her mind spinning. She wanted to scream, to run, to hide, but instead she whispered, "What can I do?" The shadow answered from the wall, his voice like stone. "When the time comes, open his cage and step aside. If you do not, you will all be buried under the weight of your brother's pride." With that, the figure vanished back into the night, leaving only silence behind, The sister stood frozen, the chains of the human rattling softly in the quiet. Her brother slept inside, blind to the storm. But she knew now, eyes were watching, ears were listening, and the hunt was growing closer. The human leaned against the bars, his voice steady and low. "You must decide soon, before choice is taken from you." Her chest rose and fell quickly, her mind torn. She wanted to believe this could still be a secret, still be safe, but deep down she knew. Secrets never stay buried, not when they carry the name of human, the secret rebel. The night was long and heavy. The sister lay awake, her mind restless, her eyes wide in the dark. Every whisper of the wind sounded like footsteps. Every shadow seemed alive. She kept hearing the words of the watcher, open his cage or be buried under pride. By dawn, the guards were still in the village. They moved like hunters, their eyes sharp, their hands ready on their weapons. The brother laughed boldly when he saw them pass. "Let them search," he said. "They will not find what is mine." But the sister's chest felt heavy. She knew they were only steps away from discovery. That evening, when the village quieted, the watcher returned. He did not hide this time. He stepped into the courtyard with silence, his cloak brushing the stone. The sister gasped, but did not cry out. Her brother was gone, and only she and the caged human were there. The human inside the cage stood quickly, chains clattering. "Brother?" he whispered, a word filled with shock and hope. The watcher nodded, his eyes sharp but kind. "Yes, I am one of yours." The sister looked between them, her heart pounding. You know each other?" she asked. The human in the cage nodded, his voice strong. "He is no stranger. He is part of us, part of those who still fight." The watcher's gaze turned to her, piercing. "I have followed since the market. I knew one of ours was taken, and I could not let him vanish into chains." The sister's throat tightened, her hands shaking. "You are a rebel," she whispered, her voice trembling. The watcher did not deny it. "We do not call ourselves rebels. We call ourselves survivors," he said. "We fight to free those who remain, and to remind your kind that humans are not pets. We are not trophies. We are not shadows to be caged." His words struck her deeply. She felt guilt rise in her chest, guilt she did not know how to carry. Her brother's voice echoed in her memory. "He is ours now. He makes us powerful." But he human before her and the one inside the cage told another story. A story of chains and fire, a story of survival. The watcher stepped closer to the cage, his voice low. "We cannot wait much longer. Guards search every day. The council grows restless. If they find him here, it will mean death. For him, for you, for your house." The sister's heart raced, her voice weak. "What do you want me to do?" The watcher's eyes locked onto hers, steady and sharp. "When the moment comes, you must choose. Open the cage, or let him die." The human inside the cage spoke then, his voice soft but strong. "She has a heart," he said. "I have seen it. She is not like the others." The sister's cheeks burned, her chest tight. She wanted to speak, to promise, but fear closed her throat. The watcher turned, pulling his cloak tighter. "I will return," he said. "And when I do, the choice must be made." And just as quickly as he came, he was gone, vanishing into the night. Silence filled the courtyard again. The girl gripped the cage, her hands trembling. The human inside leaned close, his eyes searching hers. "You believe him, don't you?" he asked softly. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, but I don't know if I am strong enough." His gaze softened, for the first time carrying something gentle. "You are stronger than you think," he said. "Your choice may decide more than you know." Her eyes widened, her breath quick. "What do you mean?" she asked. The human's answer was heavy, his voice like stone. "I am not just a prisoner. I am the son of one who once led. And if I am freed, others will follow. Your world will change." The words struck her like thunder. She stepped back, her knees weak. The human in the cage was no ordinary captive. He was someone who carried the weight of rebellion, someone the council feared, and now his life, his freedom, rested in her trembling hands. Before she could answer, the sound of boots thundered outside the wall, guards moving closer, their voices sharp. The sister's blood ran cold, her heart hammering. The human's voice rose in a whisper. "It begins," he said. "The storm is here. The escape." The night broke with the sound of boots, dozens of them, heavy and sharp, striking stone as guards spread through the streets. Their voices carried, cold and commanding. "Search every house. Leave no corner unseen." The sister stood frozen in the courtyard, her hands tight around the cage. Inside, the human boy stared at her, his eyes burning with quiet fire. "They are here for me," he whispered. Her heart pounded so loud she thought the guards would hear it. Her brother rushed into the yard, his face pale but his pride unshaken. "Cover the cage," he hissed. "They cannot know." He dragged the cloth over the bars, pressing it tight. "Keep silent, sister. If you speak one word, we are finished." The pounding on doors grew louder, closer. The sister's breath came fast, her chest heavy. She looked at the cage, the shadow beneath the cloth. She remembered the watcher's words, "Open the cage, or let him die." The gate to their courtyard burst open, guards flooded in, their armor shining under torchlight. The leader stepped forward, his voice firm. "We have reports of a human in this village. Do you hide him here?" Her brother smiled, proud and unyielding. "Do you see a human?" he asked boldly. "Look around. Only stone and dust." But his voice carried a tremor, and the sister knew the guards heard it. They began to search, overturning baskets, opening doors, pushing through every corner. The sister's hands trembled, her mind racing. If they pulled away the cloth, everything would be over. The human's voice slipped out from the shadows, soft but clear. "This is the moment," he whispered. "Your choice is now." Her knees felt weak, her throat dry. She glanced at her brother. His pride was a wall, unshaken even as the guards moved closer. But in his pride, she saw only doom. The guards stopped near the cage, one hand reaching for the cloth. The sister's breath caught, her body moving before her mind. "Wait!" she cried out, her voice sharp. The guards froze, eyes turning toward her, her brother's face twisted with shock. "What are you doing?" he hissed. Her heart raced, her hands gripping the cloth. "This cage, it holds nothing but danger," she stammered. The guards narrowed their eyes, suspicion heavy in their gaze. And then, before anyone could stop him, the human inside the cage rose, chains clattering. With a strength she did not expect, he pushed against the bars, and the cage shook. The guards stepped back in alarm, their hands reaching for weapons. The brother shouted, "Hold him down!" But his voice cracked with fear. In that moment of chaos, the courtyard wall shifted. A shadow slipped through, silent, fast, the watcher. He struck one guard from behind, knocking him to the ground. "Now!" he shouted, his voice fierce. The human in the cage looked at the sister, his eyes demanding. Her hands shook as she grabbed the lock, her mind screaming, "If I open this, nothing will be the same." The guards lunged forward, torches flaring, weapons raised. Her brother grabbed her arm, his voice desperate. "Don't you dare! He is ours! He is mine!" She looked at him, her chest heavy, then at the human, his eyes alive with fire, and she chose. With trembling hands, she pulled at the lock. The cage door swung open with a scream of metal. The human stepped out, tall even in chains, his presence fierce. The guards hesitated, fear flickering in their eyes. The watcher threw him a blade. "Run no more," he said. "Fight!" The human's chains rattled as he raised the weapon. His voice rang out, steady and powerful. "No longer a pet," he declared. "No longer a prisoner." The sister stood frozen, torn between terror and awe. Her brother shouted in rage, but his voice was drowned by the clash of steel. The courtyard erupted, guards rushing in, rebels striking from the shadows, the air filled with shouts, the spark of fire, the clash of metal. The sister pressed herself against the wall, her heart pounding. Her home was no longer a safe place. It was a battlefield. The human fought with chains still on his wrists, every strike filled with fury and strength. For the first time, she saw not a pet, not even a prisoner, but a warrior. And as the storm raged around her, she knew the world she had lived in was ending, and something new, something dangerous was beginning. The truth. The courtyard burned with chaos. Torches fell, sparks lit the walls, shadows moved like living flames. The guards clashed with steel, their shouts echoing through the night. But above it all, one voice cut sharp and clear. The humans. He fought with chains still on his wrists, each strike filled with fury. The Watcher fought beside him, fast and deadly. For the first time, the sister saw fear in the guard's eyes. Fear not of beasts, not of rebels, but of one human standing tall. Her brother stumbled back, his pride crumbling under the weight of battle. "This is madness," he shouted. "You will bring death to us all." But the sister's heart no longer wavered. She looked at the human, his eyes burning with fire, and in them she saw not madness, but freedom. One guard lunged at him, blade raised. The human caught the strike with his chained arm, sparks flying. With one swift movement, he turned the guard's strength against him. The courtyard shook with the force of his will. The guards faltered, fear spreading through their ranks. The Watcher shouted, "He is no common prisoner. He carries blood older than these walls." The sister's eyes widened, her voice trembling. "What do you mean?" The human's gaze met hers, his chest rising and falling. "My father was not a slave. He was a leader. He carried the voice of rebellion. He carried the hope of our kind, and they feared him." The words struck her like thunder. The human was not just a captive. He was an heir to a struggle older than her village, older than her home. His freedom was more than a single life. It was a spark that could set the stars aflame. The guards shouted in panic, calling for reinforcements. But the human raised his chained hands high, his voice echoing, "No longer a pet, no longer a prisoner. Today I walk free." The sister felt tears burn in her eyes. Her world was breaking, her home destroyed, her brother lost in rage. But in her heart, she knew she had chosen the right path. The Watcher pressed a hand to the human's shoulder. "It is time. We must leave. The others are waiting." The human turned to the sister, his gaze softer now. "You opened the cage," he said, his voice steady. "You chose me when you could have let me die." Her lips trembled, her voice weak. "I don't know why I did." The human shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "You will understand one day." He stepped past her, his chains dragging, his shoulders strong. The Watcher followed, guiding him into the night. The guards did not follow, their fear heavier than their duty. The courtyard grew silent, the smoke rising into the sky. The sister stood alone among the ruins of her home, her brother on his knees, his face twisted with anger and shame. "You ruined us," he hissed. "You ruined everything." But she did not answer. Her eyes stayed on the path where the human had walked, her heart heavy, her chest filled with something new, something like hope. She had asked once for a pet, a simple creature to keep her company, but what she had received was far greater. She had received truth. She had seen chains break, pride fall, and freedom rise. And though the night was quiet now, she knew the story was not over. Somewhere beyond the stars, the human would fight, others would rise. And one day, the world she knew would never be the same again. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more. Ibe.